Hey, it's Stephanie here with a brief content warning for you. This episode contains frank discussions of sexuality, depression, and suicide. Please take care of yourself, and don't hesitate to ask for help if you need it. Listeners in the U.S. can reach a 24/7 toll-free crisis hotline by dialing or texting 988. And welcome to Settling Scores, the musical theater podcast. We're your hosts, Stephanie Dillard,
Lenny West,
and Forrest Hutchinson.
And we're so glad you tuned in to hear us bicker and banter about all things Broadway. Today we'll be featuring the musical Pippin. So join us. Come and waste an hour or two. Doodle-ee-doo. That's the worst. But first...
Talk to me, baby, won't you talk to me?
That song signals it's time for a catch-up convo, where we discuss any shows we've seen recently and any musical theater news we have to share. Lenny, why don't you get us started?
So I don't really have much on which to catch up this time around. I've been kind of taking a break from most things theater of late. I wrapped up directing a show 6 or 7 weeks ago, and since then I've been keeping it very, very low-key. I think I've only seen one show since then, maybe.
You said you were in your hermit phase.
Yes, that is correct. Sometimes you just get sort of disenchanted, disillusioned by the things that you love, and you kind of lose perspective, and that's sort of where I am, I think. So, just kind of hanging back and chilling out. I've got a few projects lined up down the road that we'll eventually talk about, I'm sure. But for now, I'm just sort of hanging out.
All right. How about you, Forrest?
Let's see. I've been listening to a lot of shows. And then I'm going to be in The Sound of Music. I'm playing Nazi number 3, I think, or something, or a dancer at the party. So that's been fun.
It was finally your time to play your dream role of Gretel. Because you said it at one other podcast.
Yeah, what can I say? Gretel. They said no again.
I remember that. That's right. You were desperate to play Gretel when you were really
Everyone
little.
use hashtag for justice for Forrest, okay, to get me to play Gretel, but... No, that, and then, just been listening to shows. Our theater, Pull Tight, is doing Something Rotten, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. That'll be fun.
It's hilarious.
I've been listening to the cast recording, and it's pretty good.
All right. Well, I am heading to New York in a couple of weeks for a girlfriend's trip. Yeah, a friend of ours is having a big birthday. I won't say the numbers. That's not very nice. It's 29. No, we're seeing Titanic.
Fun.
I know. I am really excited about that one. Gatsby, The Outsiders, and Moulin Rouge. So.
Wow, you didn't spitball with us about which shows you wanted to see and whatnot.
Last time I did, and you guys had so many opinions.
We gave you 20
Whoa.
shows,
But it's 4 of us going, and we're also going to join another friend up there. So everybody had opinions, and
those are good shows to see. I think that everyone will like.
They are, but I really wanted to see Sutton because I didn't get to see her when I went up for Sweeney because she had Janet Duvall or Wall, however you say her last name. So I'm missing her again because the tickets were hella expensive.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we all were like, well, that'd be great. No, never mind. But in actual Broadway news, and not just, my Kathy Lee observations about my life, Michael Cerveris has joined the Broadway transfer of Tammy Faye. The 2-time Tony winner will play Reverend Jerry Falwell in the Elton John Jake Shears musical. And he's joining 2 previously announced folks. Christian Borle is going to be Jim Baker. And 2-time Olivier winner Katie Brabin, and I don't know her.
I don't either.
That makes me feel a lot better.
Tony Award winner, really?
She's
Olivier. Olivier Award winner. That makes
sense. She's Tammy Faye. I bet she already has 10 million sets of eyelashes just lined up, ready to go.
Sure.
The production is set to begin performances at the newly refurbished Palace Theater in October. So I'm really looking forward to it. And that's all the Broadway news we have for you. And the sound of crackling flames means we've now come to the part of our show where I present a musical theater quiz for Forrest and Lenny to answer with absolutely no preparation whatsoever. You guys are fighting today for glory.
That's right.
Yes.
Our quick fire quiz today centers on Pippin's composer and lyricist, the swell, the supremely talented, the stupendous Stephen Schwartz. And I see that 2/3 of the Settling Scores team now have their hands hovering over their bells, ready to ring in. So let's find out who the true Stephen Schwartz specialist is. Here we go. To which of these movies did Mr. Schwartz not contribute lyrics? A. Pocahontas. B. The Hunchback of Notre Dame. C. The Prince of Egypt. Or D. The Emperor's New Groove. That was Lenny.
D.
Very good. Yep, it was Sting. And he was not happy that they cut like 6 of his songs.
In The Emperor's New Groove?
Yes, he had a whole complement of songs. They cut a bunch of them.
I didn't know that Sting did the lyrics, but
Yeah.
I
he
actually
had a
don't
whole
even
bunch.
remember any songs in that, if that tells you anything.
Well, they wanted him to sing the opening, and he said, "No, you need somebody younger and hip." So you probably would have remembered it if he had sung the opening.
Yeah.
So they got Tom Jones. He's like 8 years older than Sting.
Very young
not,
and hip,
not
yes.
younger or hipper. Anyway, number 2. Schwartz composed and directed an early version of Pippin entitled Pippin, Pippin. And I think copying that echo was probably a really wise choice.
Great choice.
Yeah, good job. It was a student-run group at his university, Carnegie Mellon. Was that group called A, Gin and Tonic, B, Scotch and Soda, C, Music and Magic, or D, Melons and Musicals? Lenny again.
B, Scotch and Soda.
Very good. A lot of alcoholic undergrads there.
it's
I
true,
guess.
yeah.
Number 3, in 1971, he wrote music and lyrics for what show, for which he won several awards, including 2 Grammys. I think it was
It was
Lenny
Lenny again.
Sorry,
It's all Lenny. Lenny knows what he's doing.
That would
Lenny.
be Godspell.
Very good,
Yeah.
yes. And it's interesting to note that he launched David Letterman's band leader, Paul Schaefer's career when he asked him to music direct the Toronto run of that.
Many careers got launched because of that production.
Interesting.
Many,
That's
many,
true,
many.
yeah.
That's a
That's a
legendary
famed one,
production,
yeah.
yes.
Very cool. Number 4, what was the name of the one-act musical with music and lyrics by Schwartz that opened in 1974 and garnered 2 Tony noms for Best Featured Actor and Best Director? Oh, I stumped them.
I'm going to try. Let's see. The Magic Show?
Yes, I was going to say he had
yes.
another round of magic to do.
Got one. Yeah.
It was.
I got 1 on Lenny. Okay, 1 to 3,
That's,
1 to 4.
that's a good one. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's like I figured that would be the hardest one. It was rare Broadway musical
Doug
that had
Henning.
a star.
Lenny-
couldn't sing, couldn't dance.
Yeah, Lenny said he listened to that one. I've never listened
What
to it
was
before.
it?
But
Some of the songs are really good. One in particular, Lion Tamer, I would put up against anything else he's ever written. It's great.
I'm gonna have to go listen.
But yeah, you're right. He couldn't really sing very well. Didn't really dance. He just did magic.
Stephen was quoted as saying, "This wasn't the case of writing for a star, but writing around a star."
Oh, that's a good one.
Burn.
That's a good one.
Number 5. What show did Baby Boy Schwartz, at the ripe old age of 26, write that closed in 1976 before ever even reaching old Broadway? Forrest.
Is it The Baker's Wife?
It was very, very
Catching
good.
up, Lenny.
But it led to other productions,
It's
and
true,
it
yeah.
was kind of
It's
a
still thrown around
people
now.
like the Cast album. Yeah, people.
Meadowlark, have you heard that song, Stephanie?
What?
You should listen to
Was
that
a good
one.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right, that's
great.
2 then.
You
I've
could
gotta go
sing
look
that
at.
one, Stephanie.
Sweet. I was
Meadowlark.
looking for an
That could be an
audition
audition song for you.
Thank
for
you.
real.
That's maybe the only good song in the show, but
I was going to check it out anyway, just because it's the name
Yeah.
of my favorite character from Into the Woods. I figured it
Oh yeah, The
had to be good.
Baker's Wife.
Number 6. Which musical did Stephen adapt and direct in 1978, for which he won the Drama Desk Award as Best Director?
yep, got nothing.
You're gonna have to
Okay, go ahead.
employ your best. Yeah, Forrest.
Working.
Yeah, Studs Terkel's musical version of
yeah,
Working.
yeah.
Very good. Number 7. True or false? Schwartz wrote music and lyrics for an original television musical based on the story of Pinocchio. Oh, Lenny, look at that face. He's got
I
a
think
giant
it's
O mouth.
true.
It is
Yeah.
true. Very, very good.
Yeah.
It was originally called Geppetto, and it aired in 2000. It
Yes,
eventually
yes.
morphed into a stage version,
Yeah.
and it was saddled with this mouthful of a title, Disney's My Son Pinocchio, Geppetto's Musical Tale.
Wow.
My breath there.
Yeah.
Number 8. In 2006 and 2007, 2 pretty big things happened for Mr. Schwartz, so this is a 2-part question.
Okay.
A. On March 23rd, 2006, the Broadway production of Wicked passed the 1,000 performances mark, making Schwartz one of 4 composers to have 3 shows last that long on Broadway. The other 2 shows were Pippin and The Magic Show. Who were the other 3 composers with that distinction?
Other 3?
Forrest.
Okay,
was a
well,
baby
Sad, hesitant Bell.
so 3 different
J.G.
shows with
Bell.
more than 1,000 performances.
More than 1,000,
Wait,
yeah.
3
So-
different composers or 3 different shows?
Composers.
Composers, sorry,
Okay, yeah,
composers.
yeah.
That's what I meant. Andrew Lloyd Webber
Yes.
has to be
Yes.
one. John Kander.
Nope.
No?
Lenny, you want to steal?
I don't. Weber's the only one I could come up with on the top of my head.
Not
One had a daughter who was also a wonderful composer.
Richard Rogers.
Richard Rogers. And the last one,
Not Stephen Sondheim, right? No, he didn't have.
his last name is the name of the father on the Munsters. That's not a good clue. Y'all like babies. Herman Munster.
Yeah.
Munster.
Jerry Herman.
Jerry Herman.
Stumped you. I love it.
Yeah, totally did.
Love the
That's a
stumped
good
you.
question. Yeah.
Number 2, well, the second part of that one. On the heels of that honor, a year later, in 2007, Schwartz joined. Oh, your hand's already up. He is so ready.
No,
you know what
I
I'm going to
don't know,
ask?
but
Schwartz joined whom? As being one of only 2 composer-lyricists to have 3 shows run longer than 1,500 performances on Broadway. So it's just like the second
the second part. It's going to be Andrew Lloyd Webber, right? No?
Composer,
Someone different. Is it someone different from the last 3? Oh.
No, it's one of the 3. It's yes.
Oh, then it's going to be Jerry Herman. Okay.
For Hello, Dolly, 2,844 performances. Whoa. Mame, 1508. And Lacage, 1761.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And that, as they say, is that.
Huh.
Who do you guys think won today? Who's the Stephen Schwartz specialist?
The listeners at home are going to have to tally that up, okay? Because the last question we all kind of messed it up, didn't we? But yeah.
That was a good one.
That was a good quiz. Thank you, Stephanie.
Bit by bit, putting it together.
Now it's time to focus on one particular show to go in depth with and discuss.
Join us, leave your field to flower. Join us, leave your cheese to sour. Join us, come and waste an hour or two. Doodle-ee-doo.
Today we're going behind the scenes with the musical Pippin, with music and lyrics, of course, by Stephen Schwartz and book by Roger O. Hirson. I wonder why he includes that O. It's not like Hirson's a really common last name. You know, if it's John Smith, I would
He
kind of
wants
get
to
it.
sound Irish.
And it's not
Irish,
I was about to say, it's not an Irish thing. It's an O
Roger
period.
Hirson is
Period.
Oh, period. Hirson, yeah. Bob Fosse, who directed the original Broadway production, also contributed a little bit to the libretto. Forrest is going to start us off with a synopsis, and then we'll move into some background info from Lenny. So without further ado, Forrest, give us your anecdotic review.
Sure.
Womp womp.
Yeah. So the story of Pippin, the book of Pippin, the synopsis is pretty simple to go through because for reasons we may explain later, but Pippin is the son of the great king Charlemagne, who is kind of a historical figure, but kind of not because we don't know that much about him. I mean, the show itself is based on the book. It's called Pippin. I think The Hunchback, right? It was called The Hunchback.
And
or
I've seen it
something.
spelled P-E-P-I-N.
Right, different
before,
ways, yeah.
Various different ways.
But so Pippin is the son of Charlemagne. He's basically, think of a kid that just graduated college. He's come back home and he's trying to find his place in life, right? So he tries all the typical things like, well, not typical maybe in our days, but he goes to war with his father, tries to see if he likes that. He tries love and sex, rebellion and politics, governance, art, religion, and then even, at the end, thinks about attempting suicide. So, but eventually he finds true love with a plain-ish woman that he loves and her son. But surrounding all of this is a cast of a troupe of actors, perhaps, depending on the concept. They can be different things, but it's starring the leading player, who's kind of a dark force, kind of moving things along as it goes, kind of telling the story, helping the story along, but also a part of the story. It's a little confusing. We'll talk about that too.
A lot confusing.
A lot confusing sometimes if you ask too many questions. But we won't. We'll just glaze over it. But it's basically the story, a coming-of-age story for Pippin, where he's trying out all these different things, trying to find out what he should do with his life, trying to find fulfillment in his life. Eventually, he decides that fulfillment is the simple life, basically.
All right. Background info from Mr. West.
So, background info, while Stephen Schwartz was attending Carnegie Mellon University, he had a friend who had seen one singular paragraph in a history textbook about Pippin, the son of Charlemagne, launching a revolution against his father and thought, this should be a musical. So finding fun in the idea of a musical based around drama in the court and somewhat inspired by James Goldman's play The Lion in Winter, Schwartz and his friend, I can't remember the first name, but last name Strauss, worked together to write a musical called, as you alluded to, Pippin Pippin, which was performed by the college's, we said a minute ago, Scotch and Soda Club. After graduating college, Stephen Schwartz decided to move to New York and took the show around to producers to see if he could find funding and a life for the show. He found a book writer with Roger O. Hirson, and they kept working on it, kept honing it, and then as a result, the show evolved to become the story about a young man, as Forrest just said, in search of himself, probably something that every single person can relate to. The show was shopped around to all the major producers and directors of the time, David Merrick, Hal Prince, Michael Bennett, etc. And finally, director-choreographer Bob Fosse showed an interest in the piece and was brought on, and subsequently significantly reshaped and restructured the show, making it less about a simple story of a boy trying to find his place in the world and more of like an allegory of finding one's place and don't ask too many questions like Forrest said. But anyway, Bob Fosse just totally reinvented the piece, made it a lot more dark, a lot more cynical, and more interesting, perhaps, in some people's opinion. The production's rehearsal period and the whole origin process was kind of like notoriously tumultuous, with Fosse and Schwartz pretty consistently at odds. There were lawsuits, and I believe at one point, like, Stephen Schwartz was barred from rehearsals. It was a lot.
Wow.
There's a recently published book written about the whole process. It's called Magic to Do by Elisa Gardner. I have a copy, and I did not get it finished before the recording of this, so I'm going to need to go back and finish that. Also, Stephen Schwartz has a wealth of information about the creation of this show and all of his other shows on his website. It's really a great resource. He answers a lot of questions himself and all the things. It's great. So Pippin eventually premiered on Broadway at the Imperial Theater on October 23rd, 1972, and ran until June of 77, clocking in at 1,944 performances.
Wow.
Yeah. The cast featured performances by John Rubinstein in the title role, Ben Vereen as the leading player, Jill Clayburgh as Catherine, and Irene Ryan as Bertha, Pippin's grandmother. Irene Ryan was Granny Clampett on the Beverly Hillbillies. Yeah. That original production was nominated for 11 Tony Awards, winning 5 for Ben Vereen as the leading player, Best Director and Best Choreographer for Bob Fosse, both Best Scenic Design and Best Lighting Design. Musical opened in the West End on October 30th, 1973, again directed and choreographed by Fosse. It's that same production, and it only ran for 85 performances.
Hey,
yeah,
the Brits didn't care for it as much.
Seems not. But after that, the musical was kind of considered unrevivable, or maybe not worth reviving. It had its first major revival production in 2011, again in London. And if I'm not mistaken, the concept was kind of set in a video game, which is very weird, very interesting. But if you think about it, it works because Pippin is kind of being controlled. His actions are being controlled by an outside force. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah. I see how that could work. The next year, in 2012, a new production opened at the American Repertory Theater in Cambridge, Massachusetts, directed by Diane Paulus. And this one, the concept was it was set in a circus, and it had actual circus performers, an actual troupe doing actual circus acrobatics in this production. And it was this production that transferred to Broadway, to the Music Box Theater, opening in April of 2013. This starred Matthew James Thomas as Pippin, Patina Miller as the leading player. This role was changed from being historically being played by a man to being played by a woman. We had Terrence Mann, Charlotte D'Amboise, and Andrea Martin in the cast, among others. And it was nominated for 10 Tony Awards, winning 4, Best Revival, Best Actress, Patina Miller, Best Featured Actress, Andrea Martin, and Best Director for Diane Paulus. Fun facts about Pippin is the original Broadway production was the first show to ever use actual scenes from the show in television commercials. Huh. Yeah, it was kind of groundbreaking when it happened. It showed a little part of the song Glory, and it said, the voiceover said, "We will show you 1 minute of Pippin for free. You can see the other 119 minutes live at the Imperial Theater without commercial interruption." You can find it on YouTube. It's kind of cute now, but it was apparently groundbreaking at the time. Motown Records was a significant investor on the original production, and subsequently the cast album was recorded on their label. Many Motown artists covered material from the show, including the Jackson 5 and the Supremes. And then one last fun fact is that Bob Fosse is the only director to win, I think we're calling it the Triple Crown of directing. He won a Tony, an Oscar, and an Emmy all in the same year, 1973. The Tony was for directing Pippin, the Oscar was for directing the film version of Cabaret, and the Emmy was for directing the TV special Liza with a Z.
He's busy man. My goodness.
Yeah. And creative, and like getting it all in all at one time. That's sort of an amazing feat.
Yeah.
In all the ways. And that's what I have for background.
Fascinating. Thank you. And now it's time for the curtain call portion of our show. I'll ask Lenny and Forrest their opinions on our feature show of the episode, Pippin. First off, how did you all first encounter this show and get to know it? And let's hear from you, Forrest.
Sure. When the revival came out in 2013, I knew Pippin, but I realized once it came out that I really wanted to kind of get to know the music and do a deep dive into it. So I started with the original cast recording, listening to it, and then listened to the revival cast recording, and enjoyed them both. I knew, I think, previously Corner of the Sky from that show. I'd done it or sung it at some point, but didn't know any of the other songs. And I thought they were pretty good cast recordings. We're going to talk about this a little later, too, but the fact that I learned from the cast recording may be one of the reasons why I don't enjoy the show as much as someone who, learned it from seeing it. Mm-hmm. But we'll talk about that. But that's how I got to know it.
What about you, Lenny?
Well, like every other young man who has ever sung for any musical theater audition, Corner of the Sky was my go-to audition song. I had heard the rest of the score, and I thought it was fine, kind of like what you were just saying. It did achieve regular rotation on my playing of cast albums, but it just kind of was there. It wasn't anything special. And then I saw a production of it. It was a college production in 2002. I was in my very early 20s when I saw that. And it was a real game changer in a lot of ways. So many ways. I don't know if that was a good production or if it just hit me in the right place at the right time. I don't know. But I became just a huge fan of the show pretty much immediately. And I don't know that I understood the show then, or if I understand it now even, but it got me on some visceral level. And some of the visuals from that production are still like seared into my brain, and in one case, even line readings are seared into my memory.
Wow.
It was a very transformative production that I saw there. I ended up working as a costumer in that theater department.
Was it Columbia?
It was Columbia State Community College in Franklin, Tennessee. And I ended up working there in their theater department as a costumer for like 10 years, and I was incredibly lucky that in my time there, they redid Pippin while I was there. And to this day, it's probably the most creatively fulfilling project that I've ever worked on. And it may be the single creative thing that I'm the most proud of that I've done.
That's quite a statement because you've done some amazing shows, my friend.
It was a thing. It was, again, I don't know if the production was any good. I don't know if whatever, but it was a thing.
It meant the most to you.
It really did.
That's great.
Yeah. So there's that, and then I was and am a bit obsessed with that 1981 filmed production that preserved Bob Fosse's original staging. We'll talk about that later. It preserved Ben Vereen's performance as the leading player. And I've seen other productions as well locally, and I saw the 2013 revival, both on tour and in NYC. And there's a fun story about that. I was in New York for a wedding in 2014, I believe, and it was with my two sisters and another group of friends that we've known since we were children that might as well be family. And we're bumming around the city, and like Pippin is playing 3 blocks away. And I need to see that. So at a certain point where we were indecisive on what was happening in the evening, and everybody's just sort of like, we'll do whatever. I'm like, okay, look, y'all, I'm ditching you. You do your thing. I'll catch you in 3 hours. I'm going to see Pippin.
Bye-bye. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was amazing. That Diane Paulus circus production. It was incredible. Anyway, so it's just that this piece means so much to me, has come to mean so much over the years. And whether it's a good show or not, we'll talk about that. We'll get into it. But it's one of those that just hits me right in the right place.
Yeah. I think we've all got some that we, it's not necessarily that we think it's the best show ever, but it came along at a formative moment in our lives and really touched us. I have some shows like that too. Mm-hmm. Forrest, can you rank this musical for us from 1 to 10, worst to best for you personally?
Gonna give it a 3 out of 10.
Negative
okay.
3.
Negative 3.
I think that's what I gave Music Man.
Yeah.
Maybe it
That's
might be on the
just
same.
revenge.
Yeah, it might be. But
Why
no,
did you Why did you choose that ranking?
I think we're going to get into more of the details of it, but for me, this show is a lot more about direction, and it's not about the substance as far as the words and the music, which is okay, but the type of show that I prefer is going to use all three elements: direction, story, song, lyrics, all of it together, and I just feel like Pippin is lacking on a couple of those, but we'll discuss further. On my
right.
cast recording list, it's at number 181 out of
9,000.
300 something.
350.
Kind of in the middle, right in the middle.
Yeah, it's about the middle, so not terrible. I think it's right below Cats and The Sound of Music. So
Cats. We have to talk about cats every stinking show.
sorry. About it.
What about you, Lenny? 1 to 10.
Forrest, what do you think I'm going to give it?
9. Oh, sorry, you didn't ask me.
What do you think? I think you're going to be fair and give it a 6.
Oh, 6. Yes, that's what I
Really?
have. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you know him so well.
That's pretty good.
That is good.
Yeah.
Wow, why do you hate it so much?
I don't.
Why would you?
I don't hate it so
I'm
much.
anxious to hear this.
I thought I was gonna like give it an 8, but the more I thought about it, the more I listened, the more I kind of introduced I don't know, something to myself. I sort of decided that it was, to quote Stephen Schwartz's own lyrics, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts it's made of. Like what you're just saying, it's the lyrics are not that great, the music's not that great, the book is not that, but when you combine it all together, it sings to me. While I am giving it a 6, I do have Pippin in my top 3 favorite musicals, though, on my list. I don't have a list of my, favorite 7,500 cast albums, but
With your ranking, are you trying to be more objective? Is that what you're saying?
I am trying to be
your
more
favorite
objective.
musicals, you're saying
Yeah.
these are my favorites, but
well,
with the
because
ranking-
when it's your whole the experience of it is different than breaking it down by the lyrics and the music and all that. It's sort of a beautiful mess to me, but when you start breaking it down, it doesn't hold up so well, I think. But the score is at best good, but not great, save for a few bangers here and there. Many of the lyrics deserve some serious side-eye. The whole concept of using this medieval historical character who's kind of sort of known but not really known is really wonky. The book's messy. The whole show kind of asks too much of the audience. It has them make too many leaps to follow the story a little bit. And if it's not directed well, it is a very long night in the theater. But that ghost of Bob Fosse and his literal actual genius kind of looms large over the piece. And whatever magic he had to do makes this weird show work in spite of its many flaws.
Okay. I have a quick question.
Sure.
Speaking of long nights in the theater, I think the original, they did not take an intermission, right? And when you
I
guys
don't
have
know.
seen it recently, are people taking intermissions?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Always.
good.
Yes,
You got to settle
but-
the concession.
Yeah, most local theaters do intermission, even if there's not one written in.
Can you imagine
But
sitting
I,
through
There
the whole
is
thing
definitely
with-
one written in.
I really thought that there was not.
I have a
in
feeling
the
maybe
original.
you might be right. I don't know, but even in the 1981 one, I think there's an intermission, right?
It would be such a
I don't
long
remember,
night.
but I'm sure that there is. It would be weird to not.
I'm gonna look it up on my little computer while we move on to Forrest. Tell us about your favorite and least favorite moment.
I think let's start with favorite moment. My favorite moment is probably the opening. It's just a fantastic way to introduce the character. So it starts out in the original. Oh, it's amazing. You can watch it on YouTube, and let's play a clip of it too in just a minute.
Oh, sorry, I just have to interject here. I'm on the
Breaking news.
Wikipedias. The original Broadway production was performed in one act without an intermission.
Okay,
there we go.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Which one? Who was not supposed to be the musical theater expert in the room? Oh, that was
That's
me.
it. I'm turning my microphone off, and Stephanie, you're just gonna.
I totally interrupted
Lenny.
you. I apologize. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. So the opening. Let's listen to some of the opening though.
This is a good time.
I think Patina Miller. I think the Patina
Yes.
Miller
Does
opening.
Patina
Even though
magic
it's not my
to do?
favorite, but let's listen to that Patina
She
Miller.
does
song.
some magic indeed.
sure
She's
does.
amazing. All right, here we go.
cheese to sour. Join us, come and waste an hour or two. Doodle-ee-doo, journey to a spot, exciting, mystic and exotic. Journey through our anecdotic review. We've got magic to do just for you. We've got miracle plays to play. We've got parts to perform, hearts to warm, kings and things to take by storm as we go along our way.
Oh, she's so good.
It's
Yeah.
sultry. It kind of, and then when you watch it online, you can watch a Tony Award performance, which is an amazing Tony Award performance.
One of the best ever.
Yeah, it really is. It really captures what's special about the show because it does a little bit of Corner of the Sky, and then we go into just the opening, and it's her giant shadow on the curtain approaching it. Cool. It's like the MC in Cabaret kind of. The character's similar to that too. But so that moment, it just promises so much. It promises a great night at the theater. It promises something enticing, exciting. Does it deliver throughout the show? Not necessarily, maybe not. But I also, and one more, so the ending. So the beginning and the ending. The song at the end is really good.
Well, which ending?
That whole
Because
2 hours
Oh,
in the
that's
middle
true,
you can
there
get
They
is.
out.
changed the ending
That's
in the
true, there's a new
2013.
ending. And I actually don't like that. That's so depressing. So I'll explain
Thank
it.
you. It's so cynical.
The newer ending, so Pippin, let's just let Lennia's like
Lenny's
frozen.
freaking
and
out.
shocked right now. Let me describe the
Yeah, go ahead.
the ending. So the ending, Pippin chooses to be with Catherine, the homely girl, and her son.
She's not homely.
She
She's
was-
lovely.
She was beautiful in the production that my fiance Megan played in as
Very
Catherine.
small man to bring
How
that in. Yes.
But I think she's written to be rather homely, correct? Especially so the leading player says, "Okay, we're taking down all the lights, we're taking away all the costumes," and she's supposed to look
He does
plain,
try to make
you
her
know,
look plain. That's
plainish,
true.
right? She's like, "Look, she has a mole," stuff like that.
But wait.
yeah.
Keep going. I
So
have
okay, we're talking about the
serious
newer
thoughts about
ending,
that.
yeah, but
Yeah.
and so they strip away everything, and Pippin walks off with his little family, except the little boy Theo in the newer ending decides to turn around and come back on stage, and then the magic to do... No, he sings Corner of the Sky.
The
He sings a
little
little bit
tiny
of Corner of
piece
the
of Corner
Sky.
of the Sky.
Like he's trying to
Acapella,
find
yeah.
his, yeah. And then the leading player and the troupe of actors come back out, and they start singing Magic to Do, like the cycle is
creepily
continuing.
encroach on him, this
Oh,
sweet
it's
little
so
boy. It's-
unfortunate.
The whole cycle starts again.
Is it
Oh,
realistic? Maybe.
Yes.
Is it a sad
Hate it.
way to end a show?
It
yeah.
is so
No.
sad. The whole sad thing is starting all over again.
So when I said I like the ending, I like the song, and I kind of like what's going on. You know, think about the sun, Pippin. You know, that kind of stuff.
think about
it-
burning up in the sun.
But I
That's
was
what
not including.
That's where I went.
Yes.
Self-immolation. Think about self-immolation. Pippin.
Right. But I was not thinking about the newer ending. No, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, did you have a least favorite moment, or was that?
Oh, least favorite moment. You know, the song With You, we can listen to a little bit of that song too. That's just a beautiful song. But let's listen to a clip of that song.
Okay.
My nights are warmer than fire coals, incense and stars and smoke bamboo. But nights were warm beyond compare. If I could share my nights with you, to dance in my dreams, to shine when I need the sun, with you to hold me when dreams are done, and oh my dearest love, if you will take my love, then all my dreams are truly begun.
All right. Tell us
What
your
a
thoughts
beautiful
on that?
song, listeners, right? Except while that's happening, there's an orgy going on stage. But so the thing about it is the 2013 revival. So I watched the 1981 one, which was pretty racy, pretty sleazy, not even sexy, really, like just sleazy.
Just gross.
Yeah.
That's what Fosse does.
Completely
Sure,
agree.
and that's fine. But then the 2013 one, it had more props and stuff, but it was a little tamer, honestly. It wasn't as
Patina
sleazy
Miller had
and
like this 10-foot whip.
Yeah, I was
that
gonna
she's
say she
cracking
had
on
more
you.
props and it had more cages, but it wasn't as sleazy as Fosse's was. I kind of actually thought I was like expecting the worst. I was like peeking through my eyes.
As opposed to peeking through your, I don't know,
Yeah,
chin.
I was like,
What's
no,
going
I was
on?
like holding my hands over my eyes, barely watching, but I was like,
His eyelashes. I don't know. Question mark.
They honestly toned it down, I thought, on the sleaziness for the 2013 one. Just say, but still one of my least favorite moments. But I understand why it's in the show because they're like, this is where just blind like love and sex, it doesn't really lead to anything at the end of the day, you know? Like you're still she asked him at the end, like, do you feel fulfilled? I think she says, and he says, no, I don't feel fulfilled.
It was a really long scene.
Yeah, but it is a lot of orgy-ness, isn't it? Also, I don't like.
It's just going to work.
So his father, Charlemagne, spoiler alert, Pippin kills his father at some point. But later on in the second act, his father magically comes back to life. Pippin pulls the knife that he stabbed him with out of him.
Because they have magic to do.
Because of the magic. And he just comes back, and it takes the pressure off the story, because the pressure's kind of building in the story right there, because Pippin has become king.
It's really frustrating.
And yeah, he made all these reforms, but then he realized that, wait, government doesn't work that way, and you can't just give everybody what they want. You have to be the bad guy sometimes. And so he's like, I just wish my dad was back and I didn't have to do this. And so his dad
Adulting
comes
is
back.
hard.
Yeah, basically.
Adulting.
And the leading player's like, okay, bring the dad back. So Charlemagne comes back to life, and Pippin
Historically accurate.
moves
Yeah.
along. Yeah.
And
But those
Pippin
are
says, sorry, Dad. And Charlemagne says, oh, it's okay, son. Don't let it happen again.
He
That's a
did.
funny line.
Pippin actually did try to overthrow his father,
yeah,
and
so-
he just shaved his head and sent him off to a monastery for the rest of his life.
That's his paragraph in the history book, huh?
That's it.
But that's my least favorite moment and
All
favorite
right.
moment. So.
Lenny, favorite and least favorite moments, please, sir.
So you know that I can't do just one thing. So we are going to break it down a little bit. Musically, my favorite moment might be the opening chords of Corner of the Sky. Yes. It just kind of makes me feel some kind of way.
Do you want to listen to it real quick?
Yes, let's absolutely listen to that.
Here it is.
Everything has its season, everything has its time. Show me a reason and I'll soon show you a rhyme. Cats fit on the windowsill, children fit in the snow. So why do I feel I don't fit in anywhere I go? Rivers belong where they can ramble. Eagles belong where they can fly. I've got to be where my spirit can run free. Gotta find my corner of the sky.
Gorgeous.
I love it. For as, I don't want to say bad, but as questionable as Stephen Schwartz is often lyrically, musically, he's often extremely good and writes like a, I don't know the musical terms, but like a hook or an earworm,
catchy,
something
yeah.
extremely catchy stuff that just feels nice in your ear. But those opening chords of Corner of the Sky make me like catch my breath every single time. Choreographically, staging-wise, I guess, the Manson Trio, as it's affectionately called, in the song Glory is fantastic. It's Fosse at the Fossiest he's ever Fossed. We got this great big dance number, we're going to war, blah, 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 and then all of a sudden it goes into, I think it goes into slow motion in some productions, or down to nothing maybe. And it sharp focuses on the leading player and two dancers, and the music gets like kind of jaunty and
It sounds
cute.
like the opening to Chicago, doesn't it? And all that
It
jazz.
sounds a little bit like
hear
all that
that?
jazz,
Yeah.
but no, it's actually Beautiful City from the film of Godspell.
Okay.
Whoa.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, listen-
But
listen
I
back to
literally
it.
That's a
I
deep
sang
cut.
along
It is.
to all that jazz with the
And that works
at
too.
the same time.
The
but-
Fosse of it all, right?
Yeah.
Why do you think? I mean, what was the reason to put that in the middle of the song? Why?
Because Fosse does in everything he's ever done that we have, videographic evidence of. He juxtaposes things. Something horrific is going on, and he makes it cutesy.
It's the contrast.
The contrast, yeah. It's the perspective, looking at things. I don't know why, but my mind kind of goes to like you sometimes can't process the horror or the tragedy or the trauma of whatever the thing is that he's doing. So if you look at it from this really skewed perspective,
Through a different lens.
it makes sense, and then only later you're going, oh my God, what? Like this adorable jaunty little dance in Glory,
So grotesque.
and you look at it in Chicago,
juxtapose it,
and they're
yeah.
like all that jazz and singing this great number while they're shooting people.
Yeah.
And
Like Cabaret, like the film
Yes.
of Cabaret that he did,
Yes.
Joel Grey is smiling the whole time. And all
while they're
these-
doing
yeah.
horrific things. Yeah, and that's all the way through everything Fosse ever
Okay,
did.
I buy
that's
that,
part of
yeah.
his thing. And if I'm not mistaken, in the Manson Trio section in the original production and that 81 version that we saw, there's also like an audio going on behind him telling stats from like how many people died in World War II and how many people died this. And I don't know that it's in the script or anything, certainly not the current licensed script, but listen or watch that 81 production, that section again, and there's an audio playing behind it. It's really interesting
That
and
would
weird.
be very impactful.
Yeah. So that's my favorite, like, kind of choreographic moment. Plot-wise, kind of like a lot of it. It's a show within 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 a show. It just kind of never ends, and it doesn't let you forget it. Once you kind of get comfortable and are, going with the flow, the leading player will break that fourth wall again in a hard way, or the ensemble member will come in with a lighted torch and say, now we're ready for the finale. And she's like, no, not yet, teasing what's coming. Which it just keeps you on the edge of your seat, and it kind of doesn't let you get comfortable, which is amazing to me. But my very favorite, Forrest has already alluded to it, is the finale. And I put the finale in quotes because they keep referencing the finale, the grand finale.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. And it's where everything literally falls apart in this beautiful, messy way. It falls apart, but it also comes together. You kind of realize what you've been watching, or I do. I don't know. I'm going to kind of reiterate what Forrest said and build on it a little bit. It is this culmination of where Pippin has gone through all these normal things that people go through, like love and sex and politics and religion and all the things, and nothing's fulfilling. And they're like, well, nothing else has worked. Why don't you kill yourself and go out in a blaze of glory? That would be a way to be memorable, to be remembered, to be spectacular, because Pippin also is trying to be special. He's like, I am special, I am extraordinary. I have to find a way to do an extraordinary thing. And they're like, yeah, killing yourself would be extraordinary. Do that. And that would be ultimately fulfilling.
And we've promised these people, all of
Correct.
these people, a big finale. I'm just
Correct.
like, oh.
And it's brilliant because they say that, and Pippin's like, and they specifically want him to, in the original it was set himself on fire. Mm-hmm. In the revival it was circus themed. I wanted him to like jump from a trapeze down into a burning ring of fire, Johnny Cash style, I guess. And it's great because he's like, wait, I'm sorry, you want me to jump into fire? No, absolutely not. That's ridiculous. And then they sing this song, think about the sun, Pippin, think about your life. And by the end of that song, you're like, oh my God, this makes sense. I understand why he's doing it, because they give all the flashing lights, all the things, the big, bright, beautiful things. He's like, oh yeah, this, and he gets wrapped up in it. And he's going with it, and it's crazy because I am sitting in the audience every time I see it. like on the edge of my seat. Is he going to set himself on fire? No, he can't. Knowing, of course, that he's not. But that's the brilliance of... that's why it's a beautiful mess, because that ending is brilliant. The way that Fosse and I can only imagine that it was Fosse kind of guiding that and shaping it into making the unbelievable tense, I guess. Does that make any kind of sense?
Sure.
And then he realizes... Well, you said he goes to, shack up with the homely girl. She's not homely. She's just like basic, just normal. And it's, I don't know that it's necessarily about, okay, this is Fosse we're talking about, right? So I can't imagine that he is advocating for, domestic bliss, because that was certainly not Fosse. But Pippin has a line in that last thing. If I'm never tied to anything, I'll never be free. So I think it's just a matter of Pippin committing to anything is the hope, the joy, the ending that he needs.
Is it a trap?
Is it a trap? I don't know. In the original production, he said he was. Like, how do you feel now? I feel trapped, but happy, which is fine for the end of a musical comedy. And I much prefer the new ending.
I wonder if
What did they say on the new ending?
like it.
They didn't say anything. That's
It's
when
just
he
the
said,
boy, the boy. Like,
So they just substituted that.
They substituted it,
Oh,
yes.
Okay, I haven't seen the new one. I've just listened to
Yes.
it. I'm so glad that was cut. I thought that was the dumbest thing. Oh, I feel trapped.
Yeah.
But I guess it's okay. Like,
Yeah, it's
what?
ridiculous.
I've been sitting here for an hour and a half.
And that's
watching
what we
this for
have?
Nothing. It was like
No.
nothing. That's the answer? What?
Yeah. No, the ending is they take out all the sets. They take the costumes off. They get her wig off. Take her eyelashes
Clear
off.
everything
Whatever.
out, yeah.
Clear it off. And that's also the stage magic of it all. You have, and what Diane Paulus did so brilliantly in that 2013 revival. She didn't reinvent the show more so than she just kind of like made it bigger. They take him through this entire journey of all these colors and this massive circus tent and acrobatics, and we're flying through the air and making all of these things look so attractive, so that when they strip it all away at the end, they literally take the entire set down, they take off all the costumes, they take off all the everything, so that you're left with Pippin and Catherine and Theo standing there in
Real life.
in nothingness. And they're like, well, how do you feel about that, buddy? How are you going to sing with no orchestra? How are you going to live your life with no lights? And then they leave, and that's when Pippin and Catherine go off. Theo's left behind, and what he does is he finds something that the players have left behind, some prop, and he picks it up. That's when he starts singing the end of Corner of the Sky, and the cycle starts again. And that's my favorite moment. All of that to say, that's my favorite moment. I think it's a genius moment that makes the 2 hours you've spent worth it.
it reminded me of the ending of Assassins. When they're like trying to coercing
Yes.
Neil Patrick, what's
Sure.
his name? The actual person.
Lee Harvey Oswald.
Lee Harvey Oswald. Okay, I was thinking Neil Patrick Harris. He did not kill Kennedy, but
Doogie, no.
Lee Harvey did. Okay,
Interesting.
but yeah, how they're kind of coercing
Yeah,
like
yeah,
we go
yeah, I can see that.
family.
Well, what about favorite and least favorite song? What do you think, Forrest?
I have two songs that I really like, and then a lot of songs I think are okay, and a lot of songs I hate from the show. So two songs really like. We already talked about this. Was my favorite moment. I won't talk too much about this one, but the opening, "Magic to Do," great song, very snappy, very catchy. Find myself humming it, pretty often when I'm thinking about this show. That's probably the first song that comes to mind. And then my other favorite song, and we talk about some of the bad lyrics, which I probably should. In Magic to Do, like the second line is one of the most unforgivable lyrics in my opinion. Like, join us, leave your fields to flower. Join us,
sour cheese,
leave
right?
your cheese to sour.
I looked at Chris and I was listening. I was like, "What is this nonsense?"
Yeah, that's the first. That
And
was
what
the
about
first red
children
flag.
fit in the snow?
Yeah.
What? The Jackson 5, they changed it to children fit in the show. Or sit in the show. Children sit in the show. I was like, that's better.
That
than
one,
fit in
and
the
then
snow?
the one that really stands out to me too is, wouldn't you rather be a left-handed flea or something? A flag in the
Crab on a slab at the bottom of the sea.
I'm like, what?
A newt on the root of a banyan
cheesy.
tree.
It's
A fig on a
dippy.
twig.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's hippy-dippy. Ugh.
But okay, so as many bad lyrics as he has, in the song "No Time at All," just a classic theater song. He has so many good lyrics in one song, like enough for the whole show, pretty much. Okay, you gotta listen to these. So, sages tweet that age is sweet, good deeds and good work earn you laurels. but what can make you feel more obsolete than being noted for your morals? So it's full of very, very good rhymes.
That's clever. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just a great showcase for an older female actress to go out there and bring the house down.
It's a really fun song.
Yeah,
It's
I'll
the
talk
ultimate princess track.
Yes,
she comes
definitely.
on, she steals the show, she goes home.
Gets out.
Love it.
And I'm going to talk more about the song later, so I won't say too much about that one either. Oh, another favorite lyric, though, this is from... Okay, let's talk. Can I do my least favorite
Please.
song?
Yeah. Yes.
So least favorite songs, War is a Science is a real clunker. Though it does have one good lyric. It has one or two good lyrics, but he says at one point, it's Charlemagne singing to Pippin and his soldiers about what they're going to do for the battle, their battle plan. But he says, which separates a charlatan from a Charlemagne.
I
That's a
love
good
that.
lyric.
That's
Yeah, that's a
clever,
good lyric. Clever. But yeah, the song is not one that I skip. Let's say
Well,
that.
why throughout does he have so many nonsense? Doodly-doo, la 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 love song. Couldn't think of
don't
anything
know.
else? Really? You
Maybe.
were that hard pressed.
Because Stephen Schwartz does.
So many times.
It seems like several of the songs have that going on, don't
Maybe
they?
it was of the time period, like the boxer, la 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 la.
Yeah,
Maybe
think
it was
about
a
it.
thing
Of
folk
the
song
early
thing of the
70s,
time.
late 60s.
There are some doodahs in almost every song. Magic do, diddly do, and then love song, la 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 la. There's a lot of la la la's and do to do's. So I don't know.
Yep.
But
a lot of those you would have heard directly on the radio or something very similar.
Sure.
And
yeah, that's true. Like
was
the
just the pop
70s
music
thing,
of
like
the era, maybe.
a doo-wop
he's writing
kind
a
of thing.
pop score,
You can buy that.
essentially.
I don't like it, but I'll buy it.
And then other least favorite song, Spread a Little Sunshine, which I guess it's a product of just listening to it. Maybe
No.
I don't even like it on stage though, honestly. It's just not a very good song.
She's great.
She was fine. She was good. I thought I was going to be like, oh my gosh, I see why this song is good now, but I wasn't. So, and then I also think that Charlotte Demois on the 2013, she plays Fastrada, who is the king's wife, not Pippin's mother though,
Not
right?
Pippin's mother.
Pippin's stepmom,
Yep.
technically. So, and her voice is pretty weak on that song, at least on the recording. Her dancing is great. You watch her
Yes.
dance, and you're like, boom, boom, boom.
And she had a series of 2-second costume changes in that number, 3 of them. It was
wow.
crazy.
Very good dancing.
Yes.
But just the song itself, a little weak, and just listening to it, I would skip it. Don't get it.
Can I defend that song
Sure.
a little
Yeah,
bit?
yeah.
That's the whole Fosse juxtaposition thing. I know this is obviously a Stephen Schwartz song, but he's writing a song about how you should be loving to everybody and spread sunshine everywhere you go. And she's literally plotting to murder her husband. It's that juxtaposition that Fosse does so well. That's what that song is. And when you see it performed by a talented actor, not that Charlotte Demboise is not, but I also don't care for her voice on that recording. Listen to the original. It's Leland Palmer, who is one of Fosse's dancers. She's like this sweet, adorable little voice, spread a little sunshine, and she's plotting to murder her husband. It's hilarious. Imagine it being played by Gwen Verdon.
Yeah, that'd be because
you would
I'm thinking
love
The
that.
Devil and Damn Yankees.
Yes,
something
yes.
like that. But
That would've been
the
the
song
ultimate.
itself, kind of a snoozer. Okay, that's all.
Can I ask a quick plot book question about
Yes.
that song? What she's saying all this like her son's going to get the crown no matter what happens, but then he doesn't get the crown. Why did she do all this? Why did she plot to kill him when her son doesn't even become king?
Well, we don't know that did or did not happen because Act 1, the first 5 minutes of Act 2, I guess, ended Pippin's story in the court. We don't know what happened after Pippin went to find Catherine. Lewis may have become the king.
I think it's
Who
just
knows?
like one rung up the ladder. So King
One
Charlemagne out of the
step
way.
at a
It's
time.
one. Now
I just kept
Pippin's
asking
left.
myself,
Pippin's out of
she
the way,
made this huge deal,
Charlemagne.
you're going to be king no matter what happens if we kill Charlemagne, and then he didn't.
That's maybe why it's a weak book,
Plot
because we
holes.
have plots laying around
Exactly.
everywhere.
I think it's just climbing up one rung of the ladder.
Essentially, yes.
Up the
And
ladder.
they
That's
did
not
make
the way
a
she puts it, but
P.S. Hal Prince made a suggestion to Hal Prince, legendary director,
Wow.
to Schwartz and Roger or Hirson about exactly that. Make Act 1 about Pippin at the court. Make Act 2 about something else. And they took his advice for whatever it was. But yeah, it's about what he's saying, moving her son one rung up the ladder at a time. You'll be next in line for the throne once one of the first two are taken care of. And then we get rid of the other one.
least favorite songs? I feel like we kind of muddied the water. Were you done?
Yeah, sorry,
Forrest?
I was done. That was my favorite and least favorite.
Lenny, take it away.
My least favorite song, I'll start there, also is War is a Science. It's fine. It's a vaudeville number. It's fine. I will say that it has gotten better over the years. You listen to that original cast recording, and those lyrics are completely nonsensical. And there was a concert, like a one-night-only concert in 2004, and Terrence Mann, again, played Charlemagne in that concert, and I had a bootlegged audio recording of it. And at one point, he's like saying all these nonsense lyrics, and he looks at the audience and he says, "What the hell does that mean?" And we're all like, "Yes, Terry, man. What does that mean? We don't know."
Breaking that wall. That's great.
So over the years, they have gotten succincter and cleaner, but it's still a throwaway. I have to get through it to get to glory. But let's see. Magic to Do, you're right, is an excellent opening number. I love it. Corner of the Sky is a great I Want number, and maybe one of the greatest of all time. No Time at All, yes, fantastic throwaway song. You could completely do without it, and you wouldn't miss anything, but it's great to have it there.
It's a good song.
I love Simple Joys. It's a fun time. You don't need it either, but it's another one of those where that Fosse uses a lot to comment on the action, not to be in the plot. I guess it's moving us to the next location, maybe, but it doesn't really have anything to do with the plot. But maybe my favorites are Morning Glow, which is the Act 1 finale. It's big and it's anthemic. It starts small and it grows. Pippin talking about hope and optimism, and I'm going to change the world and sweep this whole land through, and it's lovely. Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Morning Glow. Oh, what a beautiful song, right?
As a song, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
great
just
choral
so
stuff.
meaningless. It seems like it could be in Godspell, which is my. So I may be projecting some of my hate of Pippin onto my hate of Godspell because Godspell's songs have nothing to do with the plot. At least Pippin's kind of have somewhat to do with the plot. Morning Glow was written for Godspell, probably and cut. Okay, just because, or it could be written for any musical and put in any musical for the Act 1 finale.
It's so generic.
Because it's so generic.
It is extremely
really
generic.
So,
I'm not
but
gonna argue
it
that.
sounds beautiful.
But
I
it's
mean,
pretty,
especially in the revival.
Yeah.
And we can listen
He
to a little
sings the
bit.
absolute
let's-
snot out of that.
Yeah,
Let's
and the
listen to a little
revival
piece here.
sounds
This
good.
is a good time.
Morning glow is here.
We've got magic to do just for you.
Yeah, it is really beautiful.
Yeah, so it's a great song
Meaningless
itself.
and beautiful.
Yeah, that's what I say. But
But maybe my actual favorite, maybe, for today is I Guess I'll Miss the Man. Sung by Catherine, late in Act 2. It's simple, and it's sad, and it's bittersweet, and it's wistful, and it's a super interesting moment in the show because the cracks are really starting to show all through that section of Act 2. Is it the character Catherine who's singing that song, or is it the actress playing Catherine who's singing that? There's a lot happening there, and it's great however you slice it.
I guess I'll miss the man. Explain it if you can. His face was far from fine, but still I'll miss his face and wonder if he's missing mine. Some days he wouldn't say a pleasant word all day. Some days he'd scowl and curse, but there were other days when he was really even worse.
I wanted to
love
really
that
like
song.
it. I did, and it's beautiful and it's beautifully sung. But then when I listened to the lyrics, I was like, she has all these negative things to say about a super moody guy who was never really all that nice to her. But she likes him anyway. I'm like, wait, what?
That shows
so
you where
codependent.
she is in her own life. I am in such a bad
She
spot.
just needs
I
somebody
need
to take care of her.
something.
Yeah.
And he's
It's
as
dark.
good as I got. Yeah,
Doesn't
it's
sound
awful.
like it's dark when you really listen to the lyrics.
Yeah, it
Dark.
sure is. Yeah.
As I was coming up to that song, first listening to the recording, I expected it to be like an actual Torch song, like,
Right.
oh, she misses
Right,
him, she wants
yeah.
him back. I think I read the title. And then it's not. Yeah. And I'm going to compare it to another.
And the title
Good.
itself, I guess I'll miss the man.
like,
I don't even know that I will.
I didn't think about
Yeah,
it.
there's a lot
already
there to
wishy-washy,
explore.
already conflicted. Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I'll
Yes.
compare it to? I'll compare it to the first time I saw Forrest Gump. Because I saw the thing in high school. I'd heard a lot about it, being named
Pippin and Forrest Gump are so similar.
I'm going to compare them. But I didn't know how to take Forrest Gump. I was like, is this a comedy? Is this a drama? I didn't really, and that's how I felt about, I guess I'll miss the man. I was like, I just don't know how to feel about this one. And it's okay. And I'm not saying it's a bad song. I like that song too. I think it's a good song, and I'm okay with it.
I think maybe they want you to be a little bit
I
unsettled
think so too.
there, knowing what's to come.
I'm not mad about that pick for a favorite song. It's a good song.
Thanks.
Did you give us your least favorite? Was it War?
War is a science.
All right, then let's move on to favorite character. And if you feel like it, you can throw in your favorite actor to have portrayed the role. Mr. Forrest.
Sure. I think the leading player is probably the best character to play. They get to be on stage so much. They're doing so much fun
it's a
stuff.
workout.
Yeah, that, for sure, because you're doing a lot of dancing. But you also just get to show a lot of character. And I will say here, this is a little preview for our Desert Island Disc discussion, but I prefer Ben Vereen on stage to Patina Miller much more. I thought he had a much more sinister
His
presence.
voice, though, his voice is like a goat. It's so
That's
strange.
true, yeah.
Are you
But
serious?
he's an amazing dancer. He's an amazing actor and dancer. Like, I couldn't, my eyes were glued. But when I tried to listen to the soundtrack, I was like, oh, turn it down.
Oh, serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
He has a
okay.
unique voice. I don't mind
I
it.
love
it.
I'm
Dynamic on
probably in
stage.
between. But I'll have to say, if I am talking about a favorite character, probably Pippin's grandmother, Bertha, who sings No Time at All, comes in for that one
Enter
scene.
Bertha.
Is just, it's a great scene for a great actress.
What good is a field on a fine summer night if you sit all alone with the weeds? Or a succulent pear if with each juicy bite you spit out your teeth with the seeds? Before it's too late, stop trying to wait for fortune and fate you're secure of. For there's one thing to be sure of, mate. There's nothing to be sure of. Oh, it's time to start living. Time to take a little from this world we're given. Time to take time, 'cause spring will turn to fall in just no time at all.
I love Irene Ryan on the original cast. And then Andrea Martin in the revival, also amazing. There is a legal clip you can watch of this that they took from the show. You don't have to watch anything illegal. It's on YouTube. It's her singing the song, and then in the middle of the song, she gets on the trapeze with one of the circus actors and does some spellbinding stuff. At one point, he's holding her, and she's hanging down, singing a verse of the song, hanging by her arm and a leg.
Very cool.
And it stopped the show pretty much every night. She got the best
absolutely
applause.
it did,
So
yeah.
I think that's a great role.
But also, and not taking anything away from Andrea Martin, who was spectacular, I think I saw Priscilla Lopez both times
fun.
on tour and
Yeah.
in New York, also spectacular, and that was played by a whole list of great ladies in that production. But think about it, Irene Ryan and all the women in that original, before Diane Paulus redid it, they stopped the show also with no trappings. And can you imagine, Granny Clampett is, who we're doing here. Can you imagine being in the audience for that original production and she says, "It's hard to believe I'm being led astray by a man who calls me Granny," and the audience will erupt because she is Granny Clampett. It's a great marriage of, the lyric to the performer. It's
What
great.
a nice wink. I love it.
Tragically, she had a stroke, Irene Ryan, during a performance of Pippin, and
That's too bad.
That led to her death, which is really sad.
Oh,
Yeah.
and she passed away?
I don't think she passed away on the stage,
No.
but she had the stroke, and then she was hospitalized and later passed away. But she had the stroke.
Legend had it for a very long time that she had a stroke on stage and died backstage while hearing the applause, and that was not the case. I read interview with or an article written by or something, John Rubinstein, the original Pippin, who kind of debunked that and said what actually happened. It was a lovely tribute to her. I don't remember where I might have seen that, but if you can find it, search it. It's a lovely tribute to her.
But, okay, and one more thing about Andrea Martin, a hilarious comedian. Okay, she's just she's unhinged, but in the most disciplined way. Because you have to be disciplined doing that trapeze stuff, because she had to step in the exact right spot, grab his hand at the exact right spot. But you have to look up this woman. She's saying, I'm a girl, I can't say no from Oklahoma.
This girl who can't say no, yeah.
It's 8 minutes long, and it is completely, it's from Miscast 2022, something that she was doing. And it's just the wildest, most uncomfortably crazy, funny thing you will watch.
You have to check that out.
Andrea Martin, who also was in that legendary Toronto production.
Oh, really?
Godspell. With Martin Short, with Victor Garber, with Eugene Levy, with all of that crew.
I had no idea
Look it
all
up.
those people were in. Oh my gosh.
Legendary
It's
production.
like the Illuminati.
Like if I could go back in time to any one theater event, it might be that one. To see that cast with that material.
Same.
It's incredible.
That's amazing. What's your favorite character? And who did you prefer to play it, Lenny?
My favorite character is Catherine. She is the heart and the soul of this show. It's all fun and games until Catherine shows up and she
ruins all the fun and games.
She makes it real, maybe is what I was going to say. She brings truth to the role.
Backpedaling as fast as you can.
No, I love Catherine. She exposes the jig is up when Catherine comes in. Because she keeps in addition to being sweet and Pippin's love interest and having some really good songs, she gets Kind of Woman, which is a great introduction number. She gets Love Song, which is just a beautiful little love duet. It's also generic, but really the lyrics are really evocative. It puts you in a certain place in a certain time and certain smells and it's a great number. And then she gets, I Guess I'll Miss the Man. And so she's got great material, but the character of Catherine, she keeps flubbing her lines, and the leading player has to come in and correct her and remind her to play the part as written. And it's I would imagine, a great experience for the actress that gets to play it, finding those cracks, finding the humor, the unintentional humor sometimes. It's just a really, really interesting role. And she just comes in Act 2, pretty much, unless she's also doubling in the ensemble, which sometimes happens. But it's a great role. It's my favorite character by far. My favorite person to have portrayed the role was actually your fiance, Megan.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And not just because she's sitting over there looking at me.
That's her laughing occasionally if you hear something.
No, Megan was remarkable in this role.
I bet she was.
Truly, truly remarkable. But if you want me to pick somebody like a Broadway person, Laura Benanti played it in that One Night Only concert that I talked about a minute ago. Yeah.
That's a good fit.
Yeah, she was she was young, 24-ish, something like that, and just a gifted comedian. We don't get to see her do too much comedy, but she was so good in that. And Rachel Bay Jones in the 2013 revival.
I loved her voice.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I liked her voice. I did not like her characterizations.
Oh, I did.
She did.
I thought she reinvented it in a
She
really
was the
nice
mom
way.
in Dear Evan Hansen.
She was, yeah.
She was. I love her voice.
I loved it in that. I have not loved it in much else since. It's kind of samey, and I don't know that. I wonder if she has another character. I love you, Rachel Bay Jones, wherever you are, if you're listening. But she's very similar in everything she does.
See, for me, the things that they say about Catherine and the lines they give her, that's where the show kind of unravels for me.
That's the point.
Unravels in a bad way. Like, we lose the plot. It kind of falls apart.
No, you're on the wrong side of it, but you are feeling what you're supposed to be feeling in those moments.
He's having the whiny, I'm finding myself, I don't know what to do journey until he gets to that point.
Sure,
and
but then
all gets real.
Then we start to question, wait, okay, is this that's what I'm talking about. Is this an act? Is this an act? But there's no answers to the questions, and so it doesn't make sense.
Well, to quote Godspell, did I promise you an answer to the question?
No, but then it doesn't make sense.
It's meta.
The whole thing is incredibly meta. You are not getting any answers from this show. That's the point.
Yeah.
Because there are no answers. Who are you supposed to go to in your life right now and say, give me an answer, and they're just going to like grant it to you. No. That's not going to happen. That's the point.
That's a terrible excuse for shows. Now, whenever there's any
It's
like plot
Fosse,
holes in
like,
the show, I'll be like, oh, that's the point. You know, there's no answers in life, so
point
there's
is
no
there's no
answers in the
point.
show. Yeah.
Also, we have established the book and the score to this is not that great. Fosse is crafting it around an idea that he's hoping works. He's doing the best he can with what he's given.
There was one line, and I think it was a scripted line and not a lyric. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. It made me laugh out loud. It's the one about how he says, the church isn't for helping people, it's for buying real estate. And I hee-hawed. I was like, oh my God, that's the best line in the whole show for me.
Yeah, that's in On the Right Track, where he tried the creative life and the arts, and then he tried religion, and that's where he says, I found out that the church was not helping people. They're in the business of real estate.
That's it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Didn't they change that line in the revival to "Who's touching me"?
Yes.
Something about
touched by an angel.
Yeah.
No.
It's an angel touching me. Yeah.
I missed that.
Yeah.
Wait, but I'm sorry. I'm going to bring it back to it. It just brings up so many questions. Like, who is Pippin? Has Pippin played this role before? Who's the leading player? Who is the audience? Are they playing it for an audience? Those are questions you can't just let sit. You're like reveling in the questions. No, you need to answer some of these to have a show. I think
I think they do answer them.
I don't think they do.
I do.
Their answers don't make sense.
I love the arguing, guys. This is wonderful.
Look, the audience. Are we at the proper time to do this? Because we're going to do it. The
Why
audience
the hell
is
not?
the
Go right
audience. Because they turn and talk to us, right? The leading player, he or she, talks to us frequently. We are the audience for this piece. Okay, Pippin is some guy. It doesn't matter who he is.
Does Pippin come out of the audience, you think?
He's the new actor in the troupe. He's never done the role before,
He's the new actor in the troupe, or they have just pulled him up out of the audience. I've seen it kind of staged both ways. In my opinion, he is somebody who is somebody. Okay, I was saving all this for later, but I guess we're going there.
No, we
can't save it for later because we're going to, let's save some.
The next thing we were going to talk about is what you guys would change about the show. Lenny, you want to go first? What would you change?
Not much. I think there was one song, a part of a song for Catherine that was trimmed for the 2013 revival. It's There He Was, which when she first meets him, and he was lying by the side of the road and he was so exhausted and lost it. The arch of the foot. That's the part that was cut. Weird. I loved it. I want the, but there was something about his foot because it is so specific and so... what makes you fall in love with somebody? What makes you appreciate a summer day? What makes, it's the very specific things. And that was just a lovely, lovely little moment that I wish was still there because she then, she called back to it at the end of I Guess I'll Miss the Man after she sings it for a long, long time. And then she says, and the arch of his foot really was something special or something, whatever. It just... It kind of makes it even more sad that she misses such a weird, specific thing about him. But I would put that back in. I'm not explaining why I think it's so sweet very well, but it just kind of made the whole thing a little bit more tragic for me.
Okay.
I love it. I want to put that back. And that's probably it.
All right. Forrest, what would you change?
Something I would change specifically about the 2013 version is so Diane Paulus used this circus concept to bolster some of the show. But for me, it kind of made some of the Fosse dances fade to the background or lose their importance a little bit. So I don't know. I like when the emphasis is on his dance. You can have a concept, but don't let it overshadow the point of the show and what made the show great originally, which was the direction of the dance. Why are you Lenny's laughing? Why are you laughing?
I am laughing.
Why are you laughing?
No, go ahead, finish.
No, that's it. That was about it. Yeah.
Because the point is the bigness and the spectacle and the circus and all of it. I mean, I do get your point that the Fosse dance is so special, but with her revival, look at the scenic design, and we have the record on that 1981 recording. Look at the scenic design from that production. It was great, but it wasn't as massive and overblown. It was geared toward, I guess, the dance specifically. But in my opinion, the point of the show is that moment where everything in the finale collapses from big and spectacular and whatever down to nothing. And in order for that moment to hit and gut you emotionally, you have to be hoodwinked into buying into what the players are selling. And in order to be hoodwinked into buying that, it has to be bigger, flashier, more spectacular, big, 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 loud, loud, loud.
Convincing, yeah.
And the more you're wrapped up in the spectacle of it all, the more that all of a sudden blackness just hits you hard. And I think that that's what that revival did so well. I think that the dance, my opinion was that it was honored.
I was just about to ask, did they try to recreate all the Fosse dances, or
they recreated
They did Glory,
some.
the Manson
Glory,
trio
the Manson trio, and that may have been it. But they hired 2 choreographers. One was like for the circus performers, and one was an original Fosse dancer to recreate certain moments.
Very cool.
So yes, it was absolutely honored, the dance and all that. And I think they had just enough of it to, to still keep the dance available, but to definitely put their own spin on it. And that's what makes a good revival, in my opinion, or a successful revival, is by putting a new stamp on pre-existing material while still honoring it. Yeah. So I think it was extremely successful.
It was definitely
in
a successful revival, an effective revival. But that's just how I felt. I love going back and watching the 1981 one with that choreography. Mm-hmm. It was just such a featured part of it. And I think some of that was lost, which is okay. New direction, new choreographer, new show, kind of.
All right. Lenny, what do you think would make it difficult to produce for a community theater?
Well, piggybacking on what we were just literally talking about, maybe the dancing. But on the other hand, you don't need it to make this show successful. Perhaps the physical production, what I was just saying, taking it from big, spectacular, colorful, bright to absolutely nothing, that could be tricky if you don't have wings and flies. And
yeah.
But it gets done constantly and consistently, so people are finding ways to do it in community theaters and schools and youth theaters and all the things. And this show, I think, more than many, I don't want to say more than most, but more than many, lends itself to reinterpretation because the plot, the quote plot, the whatever, is so vague that you can absolutely put your own stamp on it, your own idea on it, and then create the physical production around that idea. So really, nothing.
Tell me there's not a Pippin Jr. out there.
There's
thank God.
There's not a Pippin Jr.
Trying to picture, how are they going to throw the body parts on stage?
But they do have, there have been youth productions in our area a couple of years ago.
We saw one. That's the first time I saw it.
Was there orgy-ness?
It wasn't an orgy, but it was uncomfortable. No, what was more uncomfortable that one, I think, was the Pippin and Catherine intimacy scenes. But either way, it was uncomfortable.
The production that Megan was in that I choreographed, that I costumed, a lot of those kids in college had been in a youth production a few years prior as well. So it gets done.
It can be done.
Yeah.
It depends on where you focus, I guess. It's got enough unspecificity, enough genericism. I'm making up words too tonight for us. It's
That's
so
okay
fun
because
to do.
Stephen Schwartz did it all the way through these
la,
lyrics.
La 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 la. Forrest, what do you think would make it difficult for community theaters or youth theaters to produce?
I think you do have to come into it with a concept, kind of. You can't just play what the substance of the show has. You have to have an idea in your head.
Strong point of view.
And maybe this is a harsh way to put it, but this is what I have written down. You have to have Fosse-level choreography or something else as distracting to take attention away from a boring or slight book, I would say. Because most of the book scenes, for me, are not very interesting. When we were talking about characters, we didn't really talk about this, but there's a lot of unlikable characters. I don't know if topic, but most of them are Pippin himself, kind of whiny and unlikable, I'd say. Sorry, that's all the point, though. But so the point is, you need something there. You need really good choreography, good costumes, something to spice it all up.
Hey, look over here. Don't think about the story.
Yes, exactly.
Kind of.
All right, final thoughts from either one of you?
I think that this is a Kander and Ebb show that Kander and Ebb didn't write.
Sure.
Basically.
I love that.
It's got
That's
that.
so apropos.
I mean, it feels very much like a Kander and Ebb and Fosse, like a Chicago, like a Cabaret, like The Visit, like
Kiss
some of those. Exactly.
Yeah.
Things are not what they seem to be, and that's Fosse's entire stamp on the thing. I don't know that it's anything really to do with Schwartz. But he's doing here what he does. I've said this before already, that he does hear what he does with Chicago and Cabaret, that the songs are not integral to the plot, but they comment on what's going on. The songs are often saying the opposite from what you are seeing. Like that With You song you were talking about earlier. It's this beautiful love ballad, and you're seeing carnalness. And it's just funny how he does that. But ultimately, why I love it so much and why it resonates is because probably, without knowing it, I don't know that I can give them this much credit, Schwartz and the book writer, I think that they created perhaps a show about mental illness and they didn't know they were doing it. That's my takeaway from this whole show, is that and it took me a very long time to kind of come up with this. And my interpretation, I could be totally wrong. Somebody tell me what your interpretation is, you listener dear out there in podcast land. But at that moment where everything comes crashing down at the end, the leading player turns out and he says, or she says, you out there in the audience, certainly one of you is an extraordinary human being. And if you ever want us, we're right there inside your mind.
Creepy.
It's creepy. And to me, watching the show, watching all the things, and I don't think I'm saying anything that people who know me don't know already. I have some struggles, depression and other mental struggles, and this show just hits me really hard in a good way. It kind of makes me feel seen, I guess. I don't know if that's the right thing to say, but when I'm watching it and the player says that, it's just devastating because, yes, those thoughts of I need to find something incredibly fulfilling. I feel like I am special. I feel like I need to do something wonderful. And maybe the thing to do is kill myself. Like those thoughts creep in to many people frequently. And it's only with, I guess, when you are able to open your eyes and look and find those simple things, maybe not domestic bliss, maybe not whatever, with Catherine and the little boy at the end. Maybe it's not that, but just simple, grounded things can bring you back and say, no, I'm not going to set myself on fire today. And you are able to move on and to go forward. But there is somebody else that is having those thoughts. That's the Theo ending to me. That cycle does unfortunately continue. Yeah. And I know it's really heavy, and we probably didn't want to get here tonight.
I actually love this take. I had not thought of that, and I completely can see where you're coming from now with the call out to the audience. I'm only being so quiet because I'm thinking deeply about what you're saying, and I feel like you might have just changed my mind on the show a little bit.
And I don't know that that's accurate, but maybe I just saw it. This did not hit me the first time I saw the show.
Because it's your take. Everyone's take is valid, and I completely see that.
And it's just it's emotionally devastating when they come back into the end with that ooh, and they're focusing in on Theo, and the lights crash down, and you're like, oh my God, that poor kid, I know what he's going to deal with.
Yep.
And I think we all deal with that at one time or another, in one context or another, or in to one degree or another. That will creep in, and that's why I think it is so, I don't know, to me, poignant and pertinent, and what brings me back to it. Just kind of grounds me a little bit every time I see it or hear it, and that's what I got.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. That was wonderful. Final thoughts from you, Forrest? You felt like you might have changed your mind a little bit tonight, or
no? After that movie,
thank you for the levity.
But I appreciate Lenny sharing that, and I think that's definitely I can see that in this musical. But no, I still think I still have the same thoughts as I had at the beginning. But I appreciate the discussion, though.
All right.
And I'm still with him. The show is not great. The score is middling. But it's, you go out on a what makes you love a summer day? How can you describe that? You can't. So that's, for me, Pippin. I can't describe exactly why I love it, but I love it.
Yeah. Time for the Desert Island Discs portion of our show. We'll discuss the major recordings, and then Lenny and Forrest will each choose one and only one of them to listen to for the rest of their desperate, lonely days. Let's take a minute now to discuss the major recordings of this show.
You want to start? I'll start with the first. Yeah. Okay, so the original Broadway cast, 1972, had Ben Vereen, John Rubenstein, never know, Irene Ryan, other people, other less important people.
Oh, Lord.
The sound, it's very 70s.
Yes.
It reminds me of a lot of Working, honestly, the other recording from the 70s too, and maybe even Company a little bit, just because it has its very unique sound. And I don't mind it. I don't hate it. I know, Stephanie, you said you didn't care for the original recording, did you? And Ben Vereen's voice doesn't bother me.
I love it.
I don't think it's great, but it doesn't bother me.
High vibrato.
It's fine. I appreciate that a lot of the songs are shorter, I guess. This one, it clocks in about 52 minutes, I think, a little under an hour. So it goes by faster, which for me, because I don't care for this musical, it kind of hits the highlights of the songs and moves on. It does have pretty much almost all the finale. I think it has about a 5 or 6 minute cut of the finale, which is good. But what do you think about the original, Lenny? That's all I got.
Pretty much exactly what you just said. It's if I didn't know any better, if I didn't know the any other recordings of it, I would think it would be great. And I listened to this one for 20 years and loved every second of it. I don't know that any of the people on that recording, except for Ben Vereen, were primarily known as singers at all. I think they were actors who could get by, maybe. And they're all fine. They do their jobs. I think it was produced by Motown Records, so that's definitely got that sort of a vibe to it. I don't know if it's because it was produced by them or if they had any influence, who knows, but it's definitely...
Yeah, it sounds kind of like a pop album, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Pop album.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing. I don't think that detracts from it or hinders it. I'll have to go back and listen to Ben Vereen and see if I can hear what you are saying, Steph. I love him on this more so than I like him in the 81 video. And I just think his voice is unique and it's special. And even more than this, I like him on the original Broadway Jesus Christ Superstar recording. It's just like, he's Judas. It's like slick and smooth and creepy, and I love it. Irene Ryan is great as Bertha. So good. Yeah. I mentioned earlier, I love Leland Palmer as Fastrada. She's one of Fosse's dancers who was in a singing role this time. She's just adorable. Catherine is fine. That was Joel Clayburgh, who had a significant film career in the 70s and 80s. And interesting, I saw John Rubinstein. He played Charlemagne in the revival after Terrence Mann left.
Fun.
Yeah,
it seems like that's a trend with actresses
bringing them back,
playing Catherine, and then coming back to play Bertha later on. Because I know Patricia Hodge, she played her in the British cast, and then do you know recently there was a 50th anniversary concert in London? I think
yes,
because Mickey Joe was talking about it, not to mention other, but he was talking about it, and Alex Newell played leading player. I didn't know any of the other, but Patricia Hodge, she played Bertha in this in the newer one because she had played Catherine previously.
That's cute.
And Priscilla Lopez replaced Fastrada and then later played Bertha, so things like that.
That's a thing.
Yeah. And P.S. And this has nothing to do with the recording, but we did not mention that Betty Buckley was a replacement Catherine in the original production.
Betty!
And I cannot see that.
I did not know that.
Much as I love Betty Buckley, I don't see that.
I totally can.
Maybe.
I can hear her in 1776, and I can hear her going right over to Catherine. Yeah, that would work.
I don't, because Catherine is like supposed to be so warm and the perfect, the best you've come across in a lifetime or so. Like, and Betty with her vibrato and
her angular face,
very angular everything and voice and all that. I don't see it, but I love Betty Buckley, but maybe not in this role. But anyway, the original recording is solid.
Okay, what about the 2013, Forrest?
You start on that one, Lenny.
It's exciting. The
Pippin
orchestra
has a beautiful voice.
Oh my gosh,
I could listen to him read the phone book.
Yes,
beautiful voice.
Somebody with 3 first names. I don't know where he came from, where he went. I don't know, but he's
just about to ask what else he's done, so I can go look him up. Nothing.
I have no idea.
He was in Spider-Man for a while. I'm not sure if he opened that one.
Poor guy.
Spider-Man Turn Off the
Another
Dark.
Diane Paulus production.
Yes, that's true. I forgot.
Yeah, he was so good. He just they added some. They did this a lot in all the way through the recording, but specifically in Corner of the Sky. John Rubinstein, the original, had a certain, I don't want to say riffs, because were they really riffs? I don't know, just certain vocal lines that he did. And I don't know the word I'm trying to say, but Matthew James came through and like did them only on crack cocaine because he did them a whole step higher or took John Rubinstein's original and built on it. It's really interesting. Go back, Forrest. You're looking at me crazy, but
no,
go back and listen to both of them back to
I know
back, and you're like, oh, that thing.
Compare.
No, that's not the look I was getting. The look I was getting is the thing that comes to mind is the final note he hits where he jumps up the octave when he's up this.
Wow.
And on like a full voice instead of the just...
And a full voice, and it sounds great. Yeah, that's why I was looking at you like that. Okay. No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Like cocaine.
That, and then what he does in Morning Glow is just crazy town. He is so good.
Yeah.
We talked about Rachel Bay Jones on the revival. Andrea Martin is adorable.
What about Terrence Mann on the revival?
Love him.
And especially watching it, he's very funny. He adds a bit of interesting comedy.
And he sped up, what's the one that it reminded me so much of Modern Major General because he made it so much. It was so much faster and it was so much more
speed
fun.
The whole damn thing up.
I enjoyed it so much more at that speed. It was a lot funnier.
And going back, I think that's part of the reason why I don't love War is a Science is because it is essentially Modern Major General. And it's like, oh, look at me, I'm being clever. And I don't like when people tell me that they are clever. Just be clever. I can't with it. But it is what it is. But yeah, he's great. I love Terrence Mann in that and in pretty much everything. Let's see, what else did I have here? They changed a few minor lyrics in the song Extraordinary, which I liked. They took out some this is a medieval story, medieval characters. They took out some medieval references like the griffin keeps losing his hair and a few other things, which is good changes. I didn't realize they were changed until, putting thoughts together for this. I like that they added the orgy-ness dance music in With You, which was not on the original. And one of my very favorite moments is in the song On the Right Track, which is a skip for me. Usually it's fine, but it's whatever. They added a really cool harmony for the leading player and Pippin. It's like a hard harmony to find. And once I finally, in my car after the thousandth time listening to it, I hit the harmony and it was like the greatest day ever. So this is what I would like to hear if we can, just this little bit of harmony.
Let's do it. Here you go.
Take it easy, wobbly, flurried,
flustered, keep those hopes aloft.
keep cool as custard.
Trying hard, stepping soft.
There's no trick to staying sensible, despite each cul-de-sac, cause each step's indispensable when you're on the right track.
On the right track.
Take it easy.
On the right track.
Easy, son.
On the
Take it easy.
right track.
Easy, son. Take it easy.
Oh, it just makes me tingle.
When it locks in, it's really nice.
Yep. Okay, you go.
Okay, so we're talking about the 2013 one. Obviously, a lot better audio quality. I didn't mention that with the 71. The audio quality is pretty poor. You're going to have to turn your phone or your computer up pretty high to hear some of these songs.
Sure.
Especially in I Guess I Miss the Man. But for the 2013 one, a lot more production value, very strong ensemble singing. So songs like Morning Glow sound fantastic.
Yes.
The finale sounds fantastic. Patina Miller is very good.
Mm-hmm.
I like her voice in Glory a lot.
She's so unique.
She's like, when she's singing like Glory, Glory, it sounds really good. Matthew James Thomas is Pippin, very good. Yep. He's not in a lot of the album, honestly, I guess. Not too much of it. He's in Corn of the Sky, Right Track.
Mm-hmm.
With
You and Morning Glow and Love Song.
That's true. He gets to show off in Morning Glow.
A lot.
Okay,
he's
in
quite a few. I know.
Okay.
It's also kind of a beast of a role. You and I have talked offline about some of the hardest male roles in.
You think that's one of them?
I don't know if it's maybe the hardest, but he never leaves the stage. Essentially,
yeah.
It's a big role.
What do you think about then the leading player being so much a part of the show, but at the same time so much not a part of the show? And maybe it's a different discussion, but
no, why not have it? Let's go.
Well, how about Patina Miller versus Ben Vereen? I think that's going to be some of the argument here. Who I'll say again, on stage, Ben Vereen was just more sinister.
I couldn't look away.
Commanded the stage
such a great actor.
lot better. And I love Patina Miller, but I didn't feel like she got over the layer of, she has a great smile, really creepy, the way she smiles and does her thing. But I didn't feel like she got to the next level of sinister.
Oh, and he's yelling at Catherine when she messes up. She says, under the dam instead of over the dam. I was like, dude,
Scary,
my God,
I just feel like Patina Miller did not get to that place for me. And maybe that was part of the direction because, again, I'll bring back to this, that Diane Paulus kind of made it a rated PG version of Pippin, whereas the 1981 one was PG-13, even R sometimes. So, I don't know.
If you're asking who
do you prefer on the recording? Let's just go to that.
Probably Ben Vereen, for all those reasons that you said. However, one thing that I think and I don't know I haven't read the reasons that they had for changing the leading player to being played by a female, but what it does, I think, for me, is pull the focus off of the leading player in a strange way, or make it not in direct competition with Pippin, and doing so puts the focus back onto Pippin, whereas you have to be a force of nature to play the leading player to begin with. It's maybe not as big a role as Pippin, but you've got more song, or as many songs, more dances, more, all of it. And in order to be a force of nature, you have to have a performer who they themselves, like Ben Vereen, is a force of nature. And he put him up against the skinny little Pippin. He's going to devour him every time. And so, not that Patina Miller was playing it soft in any way, or that a woman inherently makes it soft, but it just makes the presence different. Yeah, I think, and it's how in an untangible way.
Sure. And how he classifies, I think of Patina Miller as a triple threat, right?
100%,
great singer,
sure.
Great dancer, great actress. But I think of Ben Vereen as a force of nature.
Yes.
So maybe not triple threat, but just a force of nature. Is that a weird classification? How do you compare those two things? I don't know.
I totally understand what you mean.
In your hand, yeah.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, which one are you choosing, Lenny? Which one are we choosing?
Well, before I go there, let me tell you one other thing. I've referenced that 2004 One Night Only concert a couple of times, and something very interesting that they did there that I don't know works 100% or would work in a major production, but they had 5 leading players.
What?
Wow.
They broke it up. They had one leading player that did like Magic to Do down through War is a Science, basically, and then somebody else came over to do Simple Joys through the end of Act 1. Somebody else did the right On the Right Track, blah blah blah, and then like there was I don't remember how they divided, but there were 5 of them. And then the 5th one was Ben Vereen, who came out and did the finale.
Wow. I love that. Oh my gosh.
At an advanced age, and he was still a force of nature. It was ridiculous. And that really put the focus back onto Pippin, because he's kind of a cipher as written. There's not really a whole lot there, I think. The story's more interesting because of the people around him.
For sure.
Maybe.
Yeah, he's as innocent being shaped by the forces around him, for sure. Yeah.
So maybe I'm negating my own thing because you want somebody to really force that change. I don't know. But it was really interesting. So anyway, that was just a sidebar. Ben Vereen on the recording is my pick for the leading player.
And which of the recordings?
That's what I want to know. Which one are you going to listen to? I listened to the revival. I listened to the original for the first time maybe last week in years, because that revival is just so good.
Same for you, Forrest? Revival?
I don't know. It's hard. This one for me is a score that needs a complete recording, I think, that doesn't have a complete recording. The revival did a better job, but it still missed some cuts.
What would you
music.
Put on there?
You didn't get the prayer to a duck. We gotta have the prayer
I love
to the duck.
prayer to a duck.
Why does no one record the prayer to the duck?
Yes.
The little boy has a pet duck that he sings to, or I think Pippin's actually singing a prayer for it
to
heal
the
it.
duck has died, and the little boy says, "Pippin, help my duck."
And we talk about that welcome home cut, which I think they cut from 2013 anyways.
They did,
but
yes.
I think we need a complete recording. I can't decide. I really am on the fence for this one.
No, you can't do that. Pick one. Not fair.
I guess I'll take, because I like them both equally. I mean, obviously, I'd rather have a better musical if I just have one CD on my desert island, but I'll take the original. Since Lenny took 2013, I'll take the original.
Right.
And Ben Vereen, okay?
There you have it, ladies and gents.
And you wonder what if.
To close out this time we've spent with our feature musical, it's time for our if-then recommendations, where Lenny and Forrest give their recommendations for follow-up listening. Lenny, take it away.
So, if you like this show, then you're amazing and I love you.
Wow.
You also...
If you like the show, you may like Lenny.
Correct.
If you don't, he may not like you.
That is also correct. So if you want another show about a young man going on a journey, you might listen to Candide. Maybe if you want to.
You had that written down.
Did you?
didn't
Oh,
But I have a backup. Hopefully, yeah. But
from the
definitely. But
that's not my main.
okay, well, I'll talk about that one another one too.
But really, you don't want to
Unless-
listen to Candide unless you want to listen to Glitter and Be Gay, and then turn it off.
Ouch.
It's fine. It's also problematic in a whole host of ways too. So
Another
it's
show.
very similar to Pippin. But anyway, I might give you another Stephen Schwartz score, and that would be Children of Eden. Yeah,
I love that score.
I think that it might be his best overall score that he wrote music and lyrics for. Now, it is well established here on this episode tonight that his lyrics are sometimes questionable, but overall, I think music and lyrics is probably the best. It's the story of Genesis from the Bible, and there are some really, really great and interesting musical ideas happening. It's a good listen. It's not perfect, and like I said, lyrically it can be trying at times, but on repeat listens, it just gets better and better. I do recommend it, but the best of Stephen Schwartz's work, in my opinion, is his work on animated films. For which he only wrote lyrics, and the lyrics are strangely mostly above average. Not great across the board, but mostly above average. For Disney, he did the lyrics for Pocahontas, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and Enchanted, and then also The Prince of Egypt for DreamWorks. And
God Help the Outcast. I love that
whole
song.
score for Hunchback is fantastic.
I did that with the girls' choir, and it just about brought me to tears every time.
I believe it.
It's a great score.
I know he didn't write the music for that, but that's one of the greatest scores in a very long time.
Agreed.
I would also put specifically his lyrics for "Happy Working Song" from Enchanted, and the lyrics for "Deliver Us," which is the opening number from Prince of Egypt, up against a lot of musical theater songs, and they would absolutely hold up. They're two examples of his best lyric writing, I think. Two very different Happy Working Song from Deliver Us, but two of his best for sure.
All right. Forrest, what do you recommend?
Children of Eden is a fantastic score. I don't think we've talked about that, Lenny.
We have not.
But I did say if you like Pippin, you might like Candide, okay? You'll go. It's a boy doing the same thing, trying to figure out what he believes by going through a bunch of trials. Music is very, very different, very much in a classical way. It was written by Leonard Bernstein. Another
Who
one...
did the lyrics on that?
Harold Wheeler? No, he wrote the book.
That would be a book.
Hugh Wheeler? No, but that's the book anyways.
I'll take you off the spot.
No. It was a couple. It was a lady. Hellman. No, she wrote the
Looking it
book.
up.
Hellman.
Lillian Hellman wrote a version of the book as
She
well.
wrote, and then John Latouche, maybe. What's his no?
John Mauceri? No. Lillian Hellman? No.
Lillian
would have been
Hellman,
the
she wrote
writer,
the
I would
book.
imagine.
Richard Wilbur.
Richard Wilbur.
Oh, him,
okay.
that guy.
But no, several. I mean, Sondheim added lyrics,
Yeah, it went through a whole lot of
right? And
iterations.
then a couple other people I feel like contributed lyrics as well. Is that for real? Did you find?
Yeah, it's Wikipedia. There are a whole lot
Okay.
of people listed as contributors to the text.
There you go. Yeah. Well,
Sorry, that was
Dorothy
here I thought-
Parker, John Latouche,
Dorothy Parker,
Stephen
wow.
Sondheim,
She was a thing.
Yeah.
John Wells.
Sondheim. Yeah.
and Bernstein
Okay.
himself. Anyway, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. He probably did write some of his own lyrics. But sorry, Candide would definitely one. But since you mentioned Candide, I'll go to my backup.
No, you can. I only mentioned it briefly. You can still talk
No,
about
that was about it. The story's about the same.
it.
Everything else
Be
is different.
gay,
Okay.
make our garden grow, and then change the CD.
Oh, I love Make Our Garden Grow.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
easily assimilated. That's a good song.
Oh,
But
okay,
anyways,
that's fine. Yeah, we'll take it.
Hair is a similar in its vibe to Pippin. Okay,
Well, is that because you hate hair also?
a little bit, yeah, because
Because I know you do.
I don't hate hair. I
It
just
doesn't
don't.
bother me as much. It's sweeter somehow. It's
I-
less goofy. It's
True.
more innocent. And it was only like, what, 4 years? Came out 3 or 4 years before?
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah,
69, yes, 1969.
and there's definitely a change. It's like a micro generational change because hair is definitely post Vietnam kind of vibes. But you kind of get that in Pippin too. What about this boy finishing college? What do I do with my life? Kind of thing. Coming out of a war. What do I do with my life? Where do I find fulfillment?
go?
Yeah. So I definitely get the same vibe, and I feel like there were a lot of post-war maybe plays, musicals, but not we don't see a lot of revivals of those. Pippin and Hare, I feel like, are the ones that survived
around,
that
yeah.
version. Where
Again.
Both directed by Diane Paulus.
Both directed by Diane Paulus.
She's
Both
a
revivals
genius.
directed by Diane Paulus, for sure. So that's what I would say.
I think Hare is an excellent choice. I love that.
welcome.
We'll have to do a
There you
show
go.
on here pretty soon.
Yes.
And now it's time for the Battle Royale portion of our show, where Forrest and Lenny take on a musical theater topic of their choosing. So prepare yourself for battles barbarous and bloody, and we'll see who will carry the day. And of course, along the way, they'll debate and delight us all with their wit and their wisdom. No pressure, guys. For this episode, they're going to discuss which show is better overall. If you're listening along with us, folks at home, we just did a pod on The Music Man, and it was
fun.
one
That's
of
what it was. Okay.
Forrest's favorite shows, and not one of Lenny's favorites.
Decidedly not.
And then Pippin, of course, as you've heard, the opposite is true for this Pippin. Lenny absolutely loves it, and Forrest and Stephanie, I'll add myself to that, just reach for the earplugs and a stiff drink whenever it gets played. So, guys, take it away.
Give me a start?
Yes,
okay, I'll
start.
start. The Music Man is a better musical than Pippin. I will just lay that out there. Substance-wise, music, lyrics, book, The Music Man is superior as a complete whole. And I'll ask one final question when I wrap it up, but I think we have to decide how much power we give to a director and a choreographer when writing a show, and how much that makes for a satisfying night at the theater, okay? The script and the music of a show are what survives usually. The more malleable the material is, the more a director can change the meaning of what's going on, which can be a good thing, because we got like Diane Paulus adding the circus thing, adding the bigger aspects. Lenny explained that very well. But no one writes down the choreography or the direction of a show. So unless you saw it, unless there's a bootleg or a pro shot or something, that's not getting passed down. So Fosse's genius, I think it was Clive Barnes, I had his quote here. It says, "This is fantastic. It takes a painfully ordinary little show and launches it into space." And that part of it is not preserved in Diana Paulus's, except for the Glory Trio and some other little parts. Unless it's iconic or recorded right, we're going to lose that, and it's subject to change. The fact is, as well, Pippin doesn't work without a concept, in my opinion. You have to have an idea, video game.
It's a concept show.
Yeah,
for sure.
some sort of distraction. You know, I've seen the hippie concept. A lot of people do the hippie concept with Pippin, like he's just coming back from post-Vietnam. But there's got to be some sort of distraction from what ultimately is just a whiny book and unlikable characters. That's just how it is. And then, Lenny, we addressed some of these questions, but I don't understand the fourth wall breaks. I don't understand the layers. And I think the more you ask questions, the more it doesn't make sense, the more it kind of falls apart. And Lenny says that's the point, and that's fine. But I prefer a story where if I ask a question, I can answer it and say, oh, that's why. And just to defend The Music Man a little bit, it's classic. It is musically inventive, whereas I think Pippin is musically reductionary to the times, whereas The Music Man was doing something new that had never been done on stage. And I'll just ask this question again. Which of these shows leave you feeling more satisfied when you leave the theater? Is that always the point of theater? I don't know. But which one leaves you more I see I'm arguing with myself, but no, I got to leave on my point. Which one leaves you more satisfied? The Music Man for sure.
A big old no head shake over here from Lenny. I wish you could see it. Listeners, Lenny, take it away. I'm going to guess you're going to go with Pippin.
Surprise, he likes
What
The
a
Music Man
surprise.
more. No.
Yeah.
So, this is not going to be too much of a battle. Sorry, y'all.
Oh my gosh. I am so surprised.
The Music Man is the better crafted and structured show.
Said so carefully.
Yes. Yes. Despite my love and appreciation for Pippin, and despite my deep detestation for The Music Man, it plays well. It is hard to screw it up. It is what it is, and it's solid. I hate it, but it is a well-crafted piece of theater that I will choose to never see again in my life. Talk about what did you say? unlikable characters in a maudlin score or something like this is it. I agree with you to a point on everything you've said about Pippin.
Then what makes you prefer Pippin to Music Man?
It's that indescribable, intangible thing that I can't tell you.
Okay.
Why do you love a cool glass of water on a hot day? Why do you? I don't know. Like any of this, not you can't tell me. There is no way to describe it. It just hits you in a certain way. It makes you feel a way. It gives you an emotion. It gives you I don't know, and that's just what Pippin does for me. I don't know. It just. But there is no question that, and I'm in the vast minority. People who have listened, friends who have listened to the Music Man episode have told me, I guess I see your points, but you're wrong. I love the Music Man. To a person, I got called out so many times, but it's sort of ridiculous. But I can't deny that it is well crafted and that it plays and that is. I think you said last in that episode it's kind of director proof, and to a degree that is correct. And you have to have a director or a choreographer or something with a vision, specific vision, and they have to follow that vision specifically through in Pippin. You can't just put it up and hope for the best like you can with Music Man or Oklahoma or some of those others. It's just a better crafted piece.
Je ne sais quoi for you, though.
Sure,
But Pippin is just something about it for you.
And just think about the way that we, usually approach it. Me, I usually listen to the cast recording, and that's how I get to know a show.
Yes.
Lenny C shows. Lenny is a director.
It's true.
And this is a director's show.
You come to it very differently.
Yes.
It's true.
So
It's
I can see
absolutely a
that.
thing.
Yeah.
Because Pippin, either cast recording that you choose to listen to is not a good representation of the show at all.
Yeah.
You don't get the story really from the cast album. It's just a collection of songs in that regard. You have to see it to have even the smallest shot at understanding what it's actually trying to say. And whether that does it successfully, that's, you can argue that till the cows come home. But with the Music Man, you can listen to it and, okay, yes, we're going to Iowa, we're doing this, and the librarian is insufferable, and then the Wells Fargo wagon comes, and da-da-da-da-da-da. And there it is. But for me, I guess this is, I alluded to the differences of our lists earlier. You have your favorite cast albums ranked. I have like my top 10 favorite shows, and I can't separate the score from the book, from the way it all goes. It's a complete package to me, I guess. So I see Pippin very differently than you do. I can't just listen and make a judgment that way.
And I'll say this process has grown my appreciation for Pippin.
Yeah, me too. So you have done God's work, Lenny. I do feel more positively about
Gods
about
are Bob
the show.
Fosse's, and they're not the
The
same.
devil's work. Well, that battle was definitively won by the Music Man.
Unfortunately.
Goodbye.
And now, sadly, our time with you, dear listener, has drawn to a close. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Settling Scores, the musical theater podcast. If you enjoyed it, please like, rate, and review us. And most importantly, please tell your friends about it. And if you'd like to share your thoughts on what you heard today or on any other musical theater topic, you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/settling.scores.podcast or on Instagram at simply Settling Scores Podcast. Who knows? We might just quote ya on an upcoming show. Until next time, this is Stephanie.
And Lenny.
And Forrest.
Saying farewell.
So long.
Farewell. See you later.